Hello everybody, writer-director Patrick Clement. There's another commentary track with myself and the producer, and I hope that you will watch that as well. We're about 2 weeks from the film being released on the interweb, so pretty excited about that. So I like this stuff. When I watch other movies and they have this, I really like looking at the previs stuff and seeing the differences between what they thought was going to happen and what they thought they were going to shoot and then what they actually shoot. And so I find this stuff interesting, and if you don't, no big deal. If you don't know what storyboards are, these are basically sketches that are done before principal photography to sort of map out the film, especially the visuals, and create sort of a shot list of things that you're going to do on the day, like a roadmap. So I hadn't looked at these since the last day of shooting, and I was actually really happy to see that a lot of the strongest visual elements of the film are in the storyboards. That makes me feel good. Which means that, I don't know what it means, but there's a lot of things that, that we wanted to do and that we got to do.
My dearest Franklin, I just arrived in Toronto.
There was a lot of discussions early between Alana and I about direction and which way people were going to walk and which way they were going to go in and out of buildings.
Yes.
Especially which way Ozzy moves. And you can actually see in these storyboards, some of them got changed. And this first act, you can see that they're colored and they're sort of on point. That's because this opening act was the one that I really locked first. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew what was going to happen from when we meet her until when she gets the letter from college. So I knew that stuff. That's why these storyboards are prettier and colorful. And you'll find once we get into Act 2 that they stop being colored and they look a little more rushed, because that act was definitely more in flux and had a lot of changes. And admittedly, and I'll make this admission, and all my professors at film school are going to hate me for this, but I did a lot of the storyboards like only a week or two before shooting. Some people don't even use storyboards, but I feel like if I'm being critical of my own work, and I always am, I think I could have done a better job and set shots and made choices that are a little bit better if I had done them ahead of time. So anyway, lesson learned. That's what being a film student is about.
Did you get my message?
Yeah,
I was really surprised that there weren't
some more time.
better software options to make storyboards. I use this iPad app called Paper, which is great. It's just like a doodle pad. See, all these jokes are in there. This scene is totally worked out on paper.
See ya.
I didn't get to mention this in the other commentary, but the musicians that perform on the movie are amazing. And
junior high and high school sports.
I really do like your sports coverage.
Connor Mitchell, who sings this song, is super talented. He's like amazing. And Olasa, they were a band from Lawrence. Allison, they're amazing. They're not a band anymore, but I was really pleased. My friend Evan also, he's in a band in Los Angeles, and they contributed a couple tracks also. They Get Down Boys. So please look up those bands. They're like
Sometimes
amazing.
It's raging, and sometimes it slows to a lullaby drift.
See, there were big discussions in the original script,
We plunge
and
into the rushing
we
highway.
cut this before,
Woke
like a
from
few
deep
weeks before
sleep
shooting.
fall
Is
upon me.
she actually
Towards the
lived
world.
in one town and worked in another? And when I screened the first cut, which was like
With
45 minutes
purposeful
long,
hands,
people
the
didn't
current guides us
understand
this
that
way.
there were two towns, because they don't know. It all just looked like
Steaming and
Kansas to them.
turning,
They didn't
dunking and
know
diving.
the difference between
But despite our
like a
tantrums,
medium-sized Kansas
still
town and a
keep
small
our
Kansas
destiny.
town. They just thought everybody
rushing
bicycled forever to get to wherever they were going. So we cut
trust
that stuff out. Also, I don't know if anybody's going to find this interesting, but there was a whole storyline about Ozzy and Frank, who is the man in the coffee shop in the wheelchair. That Frank and Ozzy were actually exchanging postcards in town. That they would send these exotic location postcards to each other in town, and we filmed a bunch of scenes where Frank actually dies, and she goes to 2 funerals in one day. That's at the beginning of the 3rd act, where she's in the same cemetery, and she goes to Frank's funeral, and then walks across the cemetery and goes to Wilda's funeral. And that stuff got all cut out, not just for time, but because it was a concept that just didn't work out the way that I think, I wanted it to work out. Maybe it didn't make as much sense on the page, and I wasn't able to see it. But going through the storyboards, there's a lot of that stuff too, where there was stuff that I had shot or wanted to shoot, and it got cut out. This scene is longer. So Chance, who is our trumpet boy, and if you can see from the storyboards, it was originally a tuba. Oh, it does it say trumpet? Okay. That scene is a lot longer. He stands up, he gives her money, and then she uses the money at the coffee shop to buy coffee. Well, we had that scene, it was just so long, and I just had to cut it in half. So there's quite a bit. I mean, there's probably 20 minutes of stuff that got cut out, and I think, any young filmmaker, and I think I would consider myself to be a young filmmaker, young-ish, you try to get as much as you can. You try to shoot as much as you're going to use, and try to get, I'm only going to shoot what I actually need, and not shoot more or less to keep budgets down, and try to stay economical. So I was really pleased. I think I ended up shooting and using about 60% and shooting about 40% too much. So that's actually pretty good, I think. We shot a lot. I mean, you always think, okay, I wish I had that time. I could go back and use that for something else, but that's all the process that's learning. You can see here that these storyboards get a lot more. My doodles are fascinating. And a lot of this stuff was done before our crew even came from Los Angeles. We hired some crew, and because I knew the locations for the most part, and I knew who we had cast, and I was prepared by the time they arrived, and so I was able to basically hand the stuff to our DP and the AD department and say, this is the plan. It's a real luxury because I had been basically location scouting for 2 years and sort of knew who I was going to cast, and it was I was really lucky to be able to do that. It was a luxury. See, in all these, all those shots of the wallpaper weren't storyboarded, but you get into the house and you look at the light, and I saw this beautiful pattern wallpaper, which I think is one of the top 3 things that people recognize about the film. because it adds like this strange bright contrast,
When do I
this
start?
like fascinating contrast to this old dusty house. And people say, oh, did you put that in there? Like, no, that stuff was in the house. So those close-ups and stuff that I use throughout the film,
Thought there might have
you know,
been
were
a
shot on the
mistake.
fly, and I thought, boy, I'd like to use these, and I think that I was able to put them into the film where
Forever?
they work.
Forever.
Wow.
Yep. Ran off with the mayor's brother's
So there's only 2 acts here, so this is only
I guess
the first 2 acts. Unfortunately, I don't know where the 3rd act storyboards went. They're gone, MIA. So unfortunately, I
So,
can't show
it
those.
looks like we have a vacancy at the
You know,
reporter's
all
desk.
the sort of
What do you
visual
say?
themes and ideas that
Really?
I think that I was successful in bringing out in the film are all in the storyboards.
But I figured you
These
wanted to
singular
talk
shots, these POV, subjective
The Third
shots,
Chair by Ozzy
the
Yost.
subjective and the objective shots,
I don't remember
how
much
the
about my mother.
timing is
passed
with
away when
the
I was a
readers,
kid.
how many there are.
I remember her reading bedtime stories to me.
Some of these,
One of my
this
favorites was the
apple
story of the
thing,
Blue
these
A young girl
pillars. I
searching
mean, it's
for the
all
perfect
in
chair,
there.
a comfortable bed,
Um,
and the yummiest porridge.
I guess I'm just a little
Like
amazed at how
Goldilocks, we moved from
effective,
chair to chair,
you know,
from
effective
door to
that
door, looking
that
for
planning
what's
was.
perfect.
I mean, it was supposed to be that way, but I'm
But
still
when do we know
sort of
when we found it?
pleasantly surprised by my own
Are we
work.
lingering in the
This
middle chair
stuff is interesting
because
because
it's
you
the
can
right
see from the
one?
storyboard, we knew we were shooting in
Or because we're
4K, so we
afraid
did
the
coverage in
next
one
chair
scene.
might be less of a fit.
So that's only one
When you
shot there,
going
that
to
close up
town?
of her, and then the 2 shot of her and Frank is
Really,
one shot.
except maybe 20 a year. I didn't think I had a chance. Frank said I should.
Yeah, see, this scene I think that I could have done
Upset.
better. The fact that they're so separate,
I never wanted you to
I
leave.
think it feels very cold.
And
I think I would have liked the scene to have been a little bit warmer, and I probably could have done that by bringing at least one of the actors into the other one's shot. You know, I think I would have liked to have seen Ozzy in Wilda's
Yes, it could wait.
close up. Some over the shoulder stuff, but I mean, it feels a little bit like a play, and I'm not really super pleased with this scene feeling that way. It's that scene where, you know, like at the end of the night, I thought, oh, I didn't shoot that right, and then I edited it, and I thought, oh, I didn't shoot that right, and then now I look at it and I think, boy, I didn't shoot that right. And this stuff was all storyboarded. This candle scene, this stuff wasn't, you know, none of this was done on accident. It was all planned. Sometimes I think you look at student work and you think, okay, they just, you know, had to make it work like this jump cut. It's jarring. It's supposed to be. And that was all in the storyboards. Well, we're getting near the end here. Again, I want to thank all of our cast and crew. Maybe you found this interesting. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. Maybe it was boring. Did you even make it this far? Obviously, if you're listening, you made it this far. And if you want to know where the buried treasure is, go back and listen to the commentary again. I've left clues. Thanks.